Hello, hi, I'm Nick Burgess, and I'm a quant analyst. Today, I'm going to talk to you about how to connect Python code to IB Broker for live trading, and how to connect sort of trade, how to place orders, manage orders, and look at the execution and the fiddles. In previous videos, we've looked at, so we've already looked at in the first video and how to connect and how to sort of set up our Python environments so that we can connect to IB Broker. In the second video, we talked about how to get account information, uh, such as cash balances, view your positions, look at the margin call levels, um, just basically look at our account summary information, and also how to get market data from the IB Broker API. And today we're going to look at the order management and the execution side of things. And the way that's going to work is I'm going to show you some PowerPoint presentation, just outlining how it's done, and then I'm going to sort of jump into Python code and show you the trader workstation, how we execute trades sort of in a live environment, a simulated environment rather, which is and there's a setting where we can change that from a demo account to a live account. All of that. We'll be looking at all of that. So let's jump onto the PowerPoint slides and then followed by live examples of trading on the TWS Trader Workstation. Let's go. Okay, so sharing the screen. Brilliant. Okay, so what we're seeing is just a series of PowerPoint slides that are put together just to explain steps of how to use the Interactive Brokers Python API, IB API, for downloading data, managing account information, checking your positions, checking your margin account level, margin call levels, and what we'll be looking at today is the trading side and how to place a trade, how to cancel trades and modify, check execution statuses and the like. So let's go. So the API itself, the IB API, allows you to sort of do everything we just said. So you can check your account information, balances, positions. You can get market data, historical and real-time data. You can manage your orders and execution by placing trades, modifying trades, cancel, and you can track your fills and track your execution and much, much more. Now, in terms of placing orders, we need to build first. The first thing we need to do is build an order object where we specify an action, which is where we buy or sell. We specify an order type whether it's a market order or a limit order, and we specify the total quantity. We submit the order via Python through the place order method, and then we have callbacks then to manage to manage our trade. So we'll be getting back order status updates. We'll be getting back a callback for open orders information, and we'll be getting back execution details as well. Those will be coming back as callbacks asynchronously. We'll be getting regular updates on these things, and it's on us then to modify our code to track that information and to store it and print it as we see fit. Now, in terms of code, we've seen in the previous videos how to create an IB app class, which is a very small class. And in that class, we inherit two of the API classes. We have an e-client class which sends requests to IB Broker in this case Trader Workstation, and then we have an e-wrapper class which receives back messages, and messages are being sent to us asynchronously. Our code doesn't wait for them, and we just have to manage those orders as they stream in the live fashion. Now, the IB app class we've implemented in previous classes, we'll see that again here shortly. And that class is sort of storing all the data that we get back from IB API, storing all the event information, and just doing the basic setup, which we've already covered. What we're looking at here on this screen is then the code needed sort of to create an order and to place an order. Now, the create an order is basically you specifying what to do. We also have something called a contract, which you sort of see down here. The contract is the actual underlying securities. You specify that, whether it's a stock or an option or something else. So firstly, we specify the underlying in the contract object, and the create order is then what to do with that underlying. So it doesn't include the underlying, this order object. It just tells us what to do with an underlying. So they're two separate objects. So one object is the contract or the underlying, and then the order object is what to do with that underlying. So so I've created this create order method ourselves, and the actual order is being sent to IB Broker is going to be let's find it. Sorry, it's not in this method. It's actually place order down here. So I'm confusing the two. So we create the order first, and then we pass that to the place order method. So we're creating the order here. We're just basically creating an object with order information. That's all this is doing. So I'm saying by default, I'm going to buy 100 at the market with no limit. So but we're going to populate all of these things. So we create an order object, which is a native, one of the native Ivy Broker API sort of objects. We create an empty one. Then we add to it the action, which is buy or sell. You add the order type, which is market or limit, and add the quantity. If it is a limit order, we specify the limit price. If it's market order, there is no limit price. And then we can specify here whether to transmit it immediately or whether to send it to the orders tray for manual intervention, for manual confirmation. So I've set the transmit to true. I've got some legacy fields I need to manage here for my version of the API, which you can overlook in this case. So we create an order, and we also create a contract, which we looked at in the last video. So the contract is the underlying. And then we call this our method is place order now. That's and we firstly check if you have a connection through the next order ID. So every time we have a connection, we will have a next order ID. So if you have an ID, you have a connection. So we're checking for connections through this ID. We also then want the next ID because we're going to use it for our order. Every order must have a unique ID, which is the next order ID. And then we call the place order method, which is a native method inside the IB Broker API. That native method needs a unique ID. It needs a contract, which is the underlying, and it needs an order method. It needs order object, which specifies what to do with that underlying. Now, in this place order method, I print out the order that we're sending. I'm printing out the details. So I'm printing a new order. I print the ID, which is going to be very useful if we want to modify the trade or if we want to cancel. We print the order action, which is buy or sell, the quantity and the symbol, and the order type, which would be market or limit order. And then we return this order ID as well. So you can see an example of me sort of creating an order down here. So I've got app.createOrder, which calls this method. So firstly, I'm saying I want to buy one share of at market. I haven't said what the underlying is. That's actually in the contract. And I think the contract in this case was NVIDIA. So when I call the place order now method, it calls the underlying place order method and sends the underlying and the order details to TWS workstation and to the IB Broker platform. And then you could sort of see that then showing up in TWS in the trader workstation, which is what we see at the bottom, by one share of NVIDIA at the market and zero fill at this point. This is placed on a weekend intentionally. Now, in terms of more order management, how do we modify a trade? So you modify a trade by resubmitting the same. You resubmit the same trade with the same ID, but with new parameters. So you create a new order, and then you send that order. So if you come here, so you create a new order, but then the ID, and then but with using the same IDs that you've placed the order last time. So so this order ID here in the place order method, if we use the same ID twice, instead of placing a new order, it will override an existing order. And the only thing to mention, is if we fundamentally change the order from, say, a market order to a limit order, then we have to cancel the order and rebook it rather than try to modify. That's just something that's a nuance. So if you fundamentally make a change, you need to cancel and rebook. If you want to, if it's a minor modification, which is a lot of things can be quite minor, to be honest. If you change your buy to sell, for example, changing the quantity, you can then just do a modification. You just place a new order with the new with the original order ID. So it's important to keep track of the order IDs. Now, for cancelling orders, we can use the cancel order method, but you do need to know the order ID. And then finally, for status, to get an update of the order status, we can use the order status callback method. And to receive execution updates, we can override the exec details callback method. We'll show you all these things in a live environment shortly. So here's an example on the PowerPoint slides where we have this order of buy one NVIDIA share at the market. We want to modify it to a quantity of 5. So we can see the order ID. We printed the order ID when I was placing the order, and the order ID is 27. You can see me modifying it here, modifying order ID 27, and I'm changing it this time, making the quantity 5. So I call my modify order method, which just literally places a new order, but with the original order ID, and you can see that it's updated on the TWS workstation to have a quantity of 5 instead of a quantity of 1. And then so it's pretty straightforward. And then canceling orders, we call the cancel order by ID. That's the native method, and you provide an ID. So I say cancel order 27, um, and you can sort of see that order 27 has been cancelled and grayed out on the trader workstation. And that's pretty much all you need to see in terms of order placing and modification. Now, in terms of seeing order status and execution details, the callbacks for these two methods are order status. It's a native method. It's not a user-defined one. And exec details. We override these order status and execution details. They're going to be coming in as and when an order changes or an order execution details change. So what I'm doing in this case, I'm just printing off what's happening. So I'm printing off the order status, the order ID, the status, how much has been filled, how much is remaining, prices. When it's executed, I'm printing out similar details. I'm printing the symbol, the side, the price, and the shares. And now I'm just going to get sort of sporadic, sort of as and when things happen. I'm just going to get messages, but you can choose to store the order status in Python and just display them on demand rather than sort of printing them as and when they receive. So this is just me just being a bit quick, but I could just store this information within my initialization class within my IB app class. Rather than sort of printing as and when things come through. So this is just me being a little bit quick, just showing you how it works. And you can sort of see here, I submitted an order on the weekend for one share in a video, and you can see and you can see here the status is pre-submitted because it's on the weekend. You can see it's 0 filled, and I'm trying to buy one share in a video at the market and 0 fill. So that's coming from the order status, and if it did execute, you just sort of get back execution message from this callback. This is the exec details. So that's how you sort of monitor order status and execution details. Now let's jump into the let's have a look at some of this working in so this is my simulation account. So you can see it, make sure whenever you're placing orders, this is in red. So make sure it's your simulation account when you're testing. And then I'll pull up the Python code for order management, and then take you through some of this in practice. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to sort of look at I've grayed out the code at the bottom because I don't want to sort of I just want to use this for demo purposes. And we've got to do a few things we need to check. We need to make sure this is our demo account. So 7497 is simulation account, 7496 is live. So please make sure this is your simulation account if you want to sort of just test things. You can sort of see here, I'm looking at Apple. So Apple's on the screen here at the moment. It's had a bit of a surge the last day or so, which is awesome. So you can see I'm connecting. So we've talked about this in previous videos. So I make a connection to the IP Broker API. The app.run method sort of starts listening for responses from Trader Workstation. Daemon true is just run this thread in the background. So we start our threads, we start listening. So we make a connection, we listen for responses from the workstation, and we're good to go. Now, the first thing we're going to do is create a contract, and I've defaulted the contract to stock and US markets, but you can provide more information if you want to override that. So I've taken some optional parameters just to make this sort of simpler to create. So create a contract is for Apple shares in the US, and then I've got different orders, different sort of commands in here, which I've purposely commented out so I don't accidentally sort of run them multiple times. So I've got some market data stuff here, which I won't be looking at in this video because we covered that in the last video. So the first thing is I'm going to sort of I'm going to import all the API sort of packages that I need to do that. Then I'm going to sort of run this API app, and you can sort of see the init method is basically storing all the information I'm interested in. Data is sort of market data I'm interested in. I want to know if my connection's ready. I want to know the next order ID. I'm storing open orders, and I'm storing if I open order information, if my orders have been received. Next valid ID is commonly used sort of to check that we have a connection, but in this case, we actually need to know the next valid order ID as well. So that's quite important. And then everything else is just methods that we've added to facilitate market data or order placement. So you can see here when I'm placing an order, I'll take you through that in a second. So let's go through the demo part, and then we'll talk about the above code sort of as we go along. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at my live or list of orders. This is just me. Every time I place an order, I'm storing the orders in my class, and I'm just going to print that out. So we should see that we have no orders, right? So that's what the first thing should happen. First thing is error here just means we've printed to the console. These are not errors. This just means that we just read the comment, which is saying we've made a connection to these different databases and data farms, and everything's good. We're connected, and the next order ID is 11. Um, and you can see here it's saying I've got no live orders. There's no orders currently live. So let's have a look. There's no orders there. You can see some of these things are grayed out. So just before this presentation, I did a quick check to make sure the code's working. I placed Apple and NVIDIA orders. You can see I got -2 profit here because I bought and sold. And that's just a bit off the spread. So the cost of practicing and placing orders before this video chat. Right, so we've got no. So first thing is they've got no live orders. So next thing you're going to do, you're going to place a market order. In this case, so we've created a contract of Apple, and I'm going to uncomment this just to sort of show how it works. So it's going to call the create order method, and we've already created the contract up here. So this create contract is where it's just a helper method to let's get that. So that's the helper method just to sort of create the underlying. Sorry, I must have gone through it pretty quick. There we go. Okay, contract. There it is. And all it's doing is creating the native sort of contract object, which is empty, and then appending all the inputs to that. And I've defaulted it to be a stock on the smart exchange within USD. So obviously anything here we can override. But if I just want to be quick and I know I'm going to be trading on the US, I just put the symbol. So that's just for convenience. That's the create contract method, which you've done here. So I create an Apple underlying. Here I'm going to create the order to buy one at market, and that's using the create order method. And again, that's just creating an order object. Let's see if we can find that. Create order here. So I create an empty order and then I update it with the action order type quantity. If it's a limit order at the limit price, I say transmit immediately, so it can go straight through rather than sort of pausing on the screen for manual intervention, just for manual confirmation. And I got some these native legacy fields for my version of the API, where I just set them to false just so they don't generate warnings. So I create an order. So we've done two things. We've created the underlying contract. And then we create an order which doesn't contain the underlying, it only just says what to do with it. And then we pass that information to the place order method. You give it the contract, which is the underlying, give it the order, so what to do. And then we call the place order method, and then the order is sent. And the place order now method, if you look what it does, it takes a contract, takes an order, and basically all it's doing is it's calling the native place order method with an ID, with the underlying contract, and with the order details. And what we do in this method, we print out what we sent, and we also print out the order ID. And the reason we want the order ID is because if I want to modify or cancel, I need to know the order ID. So let's have a go placing the market order. So I'm just going to run this code, and we should see it's buying one apple at market. And you can see the order's already been filled, so that's already gone through. And I've bought it 229. Now I'm going to place the sell order because I don't want to keep the position. This is obviously my demo account, so it doesn't really matter. Now I place this. Now that's my sell order, and I've sold out. Now you can see my P&L's changed again. So I guess I've lost another $2 here because that's I'm assuming this is I'm paying the bid offer spread on Apple. So that's gone through. So you see I placed a buy order, place the sell order, those are being filled. Now let's stop doing market orders and start doing limit orders. Now limit orders is exactly the same, except that when I create my order, this time instead of saying market, I'm going to sort of say LMT for limit. And I'm going to place the limit. So I'm at 229 on Apple. I'm going to just place a limit on buying, so I'll make it higher. I'll buy it if it goes to 235, let's say. Let's run that. Limit to, I did that wrong around. I just said lot lower, so I filled already. I should have said I was right the first time. Right, now I'm going to sort of, I'm going to reverse that order. So I've got a position, minimize this, I've got a position of 1, and I'm going to sell 1 at market. And I filled already, so there we go, we're close, now I'm back to 0 position, and take another $2 loss. So that's, again, just churning and paying transaction costs. Right, so we've looked at how to place market order, how to place a limit order. This one should be, obviously want to buy it lower than the price rather than buying it above. There you go. So I'll fix that. Now let's place a limit order and then modify it. Now, so let's place it properly this time. So we'll buy below. So we buy 220. It's currently trading around 230. So I'll place the limit, and we see that that's going to sit in our tray. Yep. So just close that screen, that pop up. So you can see now I've got an order sort of pending for 220. So to buy one share of Apple with a limit of 220. It's currently trading at 230, and that's sort of just sitting there. Now I need to know the order ID in order to cancel, and that's why I was printing it out. So I've got the last limit order was order ID is 15, and so if I want to cancel that limit order, I call the cancel method, which she's already discussed, but I need to provide the correct order ID, otherwise it won't cancel. So my order ID in this case, we printed it out as 15. So it's very important to store these. And now I've canceled. And now you can sort of see running that my order is cancelled and now it's grayed out. So my limit order has been cancelled out. This other one was filled. You can sort of see here, this one's been zero fill of one, and the other limit order, which I placed with the wrong sort of limit, that one's gone through that was just executed immediately as a market order at 229. So that's how you sort of cancel the orders. Obviously, don't rush these things when you're doing live trading, and you certainly wouldn't do it like this. This is just for demo purposes. Now, if I place, say two more limit orders, say I place a few orders. There's one, and then maybe I buy. Sorry, I'm just killing that pop up, and then I run it again and place another limit order. So I've got two of them. If I want to then cancel all orders, I can. There's a cancel everything method. And which I'll sort of show you that running as well. And then I'm just using the native app, this one, cancel orders. So there's a native method for that, which I'll run, and you can see all my orders got cancelled in one go. So you can cancel, and then obviously in this case, I don't need to know the order ID. And I guess one of the last things to sort of show is I place an order and then obviously I modify an order. So I guess I'll place a limit order to buy one Apple at 220, so that's below the current price 230. So let's place that. Brilliant. So that's there. And then I'm going to modify that order. So we know the order ID is 18, and I'm going to modify that order to maybe to increase the number of maybe I'll increase the number of now this will have to be limit. So this is order number 18. Oh, sorry, I should have used the I've got two modify methods here, just to sort of one to modify limit orders and one to modify market orders. And I'm going to use the limit order one here because, as I said earlier on, this is one of the nuances of modifying orders. If I want to fundamentally change if I want to make a big change to order, I want to change it from market to limit, I have to actually cancel rebook. If I want to modify an order, I can modify as long as I'm not modifying something, not as long as I'm modifying the order type. So therefore I wrote two modify methods just to make life a bit easier. So I've got buy. So originally, yes, we said we're going to buy one Apple at 220. Now I'm going to maybe change it to buy 10 Apple at something really crazy like 170. And then the order ID we said was 18, so I changed that to 18. And let's see if that goes. And now you sort of now, when one of the things, there are settings inside Trader Workstation where if I change the limit price from something, specify something that's far away from the current or from the current price, it allows me for manual confirmation, and that's more like a protection mechanism in case you sort of specify some really crazy number that wasn't intended. So it's a protective mechanism, and that sort of require me to do this manual update. That can be overridden, but I have not done that in this case. I have to press update, and then that will override and transmit instead of that goes straight through. And so there are a lot of protection mechanisms that you can update in your settings. My settings have something to protect me from placing orders far away from the limit. Now, so that's gone through. So now I'm trying to get 10 apples at 170, which is what we modified our order to be. And then the final thing is just obviously cancel that order because which in this case I'll probably just cancel. Well, I'll cancel that specific order rather than everything. So we know our order ID was 18. I need to update that, and then that should cancel my order. Let's send that through. Brilliant, and now my order's cancelled. Right, so let me just comment that out. So one thing to sort of say, obviously, whenever you sort of like placing testing your order logic and order functionality, just make sure it's on your simulation account, that you don't accidentally go and trade when you don't mean to. So everything you see here is simulation, and you can always tell by the red banner in your this red sort of banner at the top. Um, right, so let's go back to our PowerPoint slides, but to conclude, so we've gone through all these different callback methods for tracking order, and we've tried placing orders, we've tried modifying orders, canceling orders, and we've also processed all the callback messages that we've got back as well. This order status, I commented those out because they create a lot of noise. In this case, I'm printing order status and execution details as and when they receive, and so I didn't want to have that sort of pollute my screens when I was showing you how to place an order. So I commented those out, but if you want to uncomment them in the code, but that's by all means do that. Now, all the code will be in the links below this video. The callback methods we've been looking at in the last three videos on, first video was on how to connect, second video was account summary details and market data, and this one was how to place orders. And the key sort of callback methods we've been looking at was connect, request historical data, request market data, request account summary, request positions, place an order. Modifying orders is placing an order with the same order ID that of the trade you want to modify, and then there's obviously a cancel order and cancel all orders as well. Now, resources, for a full example of all the different methods available in the API, you can find that here on the official documentation. There's also an Algo Trading 101 guide, which sort of takes you through a lot of algo trading from beginner to advanced. And then there's also a video series on all the different functionality available on IB The closing remarks, just to say, so always try, especially order management functionality, or please do try in your simulation account. Make sure on 7497, not 6. Start small and do plenty of testing before placing real orders. And should you want any more information on algo trading or quant research, please do subscribe to this channel. I also have a weekly newsletter, which is free, also on algo trading, quant research, which you can subscribe to for weekly updates. And you can also follow me on LinkedIn, where I post quite actively on algo trading and quant research. So please do subscribe to this YouTube channel. And thank you very much for your time, and have a great day. Bye.